there. Thanks for watching or listening to VIP Boxing's Bell to Bell podcast. We're on episode 153. You're either watching us on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes. Thanks very much. Leave us a review. Say what you want. You know me, Steve Lillis. You know the man scratching his head or who's just stopped scratching his head. John Evans, he's had a busy day today. And then at the bottom, he's got his VIP cup. We don't get sent them. It's the main man at VIP. I think very close to celebrating 28 years of promoting, and he still looks about his mid-30s when he started promoting with his VIP shirt on the lot today, mate. Muhammad Ali in the background. He's on the first floor in the ballroom of his office, I think, today. Steve Wood, how are you, Steve?
You know what? I'm good, Steve. I'm the same. If you've been a busy day, and I can't believe John Evans is a busy day since he's a multi-millionaire retired.
Do you not read boxing scene every day? His is the only byline you see on it, mate. He's churning it out every day in, day out, night in, night out, mate. While you're snoring, mate, in Worsley, dreaming of Man United finally winning a match, he's writing stories and getting interviews from around the world, aren't you, John?
Mainly around the northwest, Steve. We'll scale it down a little bit. But...
Anyway, Steve, thanks for coming on, Steve. And just before we go on to the pod, busy time for VIP with your new partners involved, Josh Warrington involved, Suresh and all the team. Busy times.
Yeah. You know, we're just bedding them in, really, because obviously it's a culture shock once you come involved in boxing and you've been in proper businesses. You know? So I always remember Barry Earn saying it's a fundamentally flawed business, and that's a really good way of describing it. So I'm having to educate them. Obviously, Josh is still looking to fight, so I don't want to put too much pressure on him yet. But no, it's going the right way, and we've had some other guys come in and done a bit of investment for the fighters and a bit more to do. So there'll be an announcement on that soon. So yeah, everything's going the right way, and I'm sure it's going to help us build up to be a bigger platform for our fighters.
Have they realised that boxing isn't like a normal business, what they come from, like medical care and universities in Austria that they own?
I think they're getting the shock as they move along, mate, yeah. Why doesn't this happen? Why doesn't that happen? Sit down while I explain it, yeah.
Can you have you worked out the idea about losing on quite a few shows yet and making up big on others, Steve? Has that sunk into him yet?
Well, I don't know about the making up, but they've realised about the losing, yeah. So yeah, we've got some good ideas that will help the cash flow perform a bit better. So yeah, you know. I obviously told him how bad it was when he come on board. I wasn't bringing anyone on board with the green eyes. I had to let him know exactly how it stood. So, you know, no shocks for him yet.
Well, there might be
a quick and Steve, before we get on, let's have a little bit about the Little Levers meet Cleaver, who was over in Germany at weekend.
Yeah, do you know, we went over there. He'd done his training well. Obviously, he was still fit from the Chelly fight, and I watched the fight. I've had a word with him today, and he's basically got in a fight with a well-schooled, heavy-handed kid, and he's tried his best, but he was outgunned by him, and you know, he didn't do as he should have done, as in keeping it long and boxing early doors and building up a lead, and then obviously maybe have a fight later on when the kid's open a little bit and tired a little bit, and maybe couldn't take Jack shots. But, you know, Jack said, like, he caught him flush. He said, and I feel it down my hand. I've known I sent a good shot, he said, and he said he never bothered him. So he said he's not a bad kid at all. So he did his best. You know, I don't think he did his best against Zach Chelly. He probably could have had better tactics on Saturday night, but, you know, he put a good performance. Anybody who watched it seen a good fight, didn't they?
Yeah. All right, then we'll fire on with a podcast, Steve. And first, we're going to, John, you got your watch and everything. There are 3 minutes around.
I'm going to be strict on
We're going to be strict
now.
tonight.
We've been getting slack, haven't we? So
yeah, Steve's got to get away anyway, and we don't want Hogan moaning. That's Lee Hogan, for those of the uninitiated who don't know when he gets mentioned there.
Like we always say, Lee's a perfectionist, isn't he? So we can't be running over.
Right, we're going to start with round 1. You start clocking us, John. It's Zelfa time. VIP fighter managed by Steve, Zelfa Barrett. I just think a brilliant fight that's almost slipping under the radar, although it's headlining the arena this Saturday. 58-4-1 combined record between them. High quality domestic matchup. You know, it's hard to think Zelfa's a few months older, I think, than Jordan as well. I think he's 30. I think Jordan's only 29, I think. And you look at the fight, I do think, you know, it's made for Zelfa. He's finally headlining the place where, when he went to Matchroom, one of the reasons I think he signed was to become the headline attraction in Manchester. But I tell you what, as far as, you know, it's a big fight, but for the loser, it's going to be such a long climb back. The pressure on both of them to win is amazing. And it's not amazing. It's just quite staggering how much pressure's on there, because it is such a long climb back from the loser. And you wonder, you know, how they would get back in. Have you spoke to Steve, to Zelfa about that, Steve?
Well, I've not spoken about that because we're obviously positive.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We're expecting to win, but I know what you're saying. And when you make any fight, you look at the risk reward against it, don't you? And but for this one, obviously, we was hoping we could get a world title fight, but for whatever reason, we couldn't do. Cardina didn't want to fight us, and he's openly said that. So this was the next best fight for us, because whoever wins this should get themselves in line for a world title fight, even though it's not a final eliminator, which we was hoping for. But no, my take on it is a 50-50 fight. We're going to speak about some other domestic fights, which are drawing up a lot of attention. This, as you say, is a great domestic 50-50 fight. Very much similar, 29-30, 28 wins, 30 wins. I think the only difference really, and I'm hoping that'll be the telling factor, is that the stoppage rates of Zelfa's 16 against 9 of Gill's kind of shows that the power is with Zelfa. And I think as the round goes on and he maintains that power, that'll be the difference in the fight. But as you say, it is one where you can't openly say, right, he's a big favourite. I think it's a great fight.
John?
Yeah, I think it's, on paper it's 50-50, but I get the impression Zelfa's going to do a real job. I've been in seeing him quite a few times recently. I've not seen him like this before, or talking like it. His weight's good. He's not sweating off his weight, you know, in the last few weeks like he used to do in the past. He's confident, he's fast, he's hard. I don't know, I just get the feeling Gill might really make Zelfa look good, and Zelfa might like push himself forward to the front of his queue behind Cardina. We hope so anyway, don't we? He's put the time in over the years. Yeah. But I just think it's set up for him, like you said, Steve.
Hopefully it's in the stars, yeah.
Round 2, Steve. Steve Wood, take us away. You want to talk about inactivity?
Yeah, I just thought I'd ask you two guys about how often you thought boxers should be fighting, because, you know, like I've got a few fighters. Look at Zelfa, you know, he was fighting 7 times a year at one stage, and like now he's only fought twice in the last like 3 years, and you know, it's not great, is it, when you're only fighting twice a year? Josh Waddington was the same. He was always kept busy, and you know, like he's fought once last year, twice the 2 years before, and like we're 4 months into the new year and we've still not got a date for him. And I've got fighters that I've built up on my small hall shows, and I always say to the lad, look, I'll get you 4 fights a year, which is what I aim for. If I can get them some more, that's great. But once you start getting to a certain stage and you're a bit of a risk, people won't fight you. And you know, doing the matchmaking now, I've got kids that we're trying to get out, and people just won't fight them on small hall shows. And then you get onto the big TV shows, and they seem to have the favourites who are fighting 5-6 times a year, and then they've got other lads who are only fighting twice a year, which is no good when they're starting the career off. And then you look at the PBC over in America, some of the top kids are only fighting once a year. I'm just thinking, are your thoughts the same as mine, that these kids, maybe if it's because they've got to sell a few tickets or take less money, or you know, have a bigger risk themselves, they need to be fighting?
John?
Yeah, God, it's impossible to put your finger on, isn't it? You know, I think the problems are probably different at every different level.
Yeah.
You know, for kids on the small shows, asking the mates to shell out every 8 weeks for tickets is difficult. And as you just said, when people get too dangerous, they just don't get approached, and there's not the money for them on the small shows, is there? Yeah. So it's probably different problems at all different levels.
You know, you got one, Steve, Will Goldie Gallery we were talking about. He's just high risk, low reward opponent for people. You know, once only had 6, 7 fights, wants to fight anybody, and people were swerving him already. And I just think also what's unlucky for a lot of these fighters, the big promoters are signing everyone up, so there's not enough dates to go round for everybody. I mean, you know, look at Sky at the moment. You know, there's not been they've had a slow start to the year. Sky with boxing. Look at all the fighters they must have parked up.
Yeah, that's what I'm just thinking. We've got to find an answer for it, you know, not just at small R level, but at the higher level as well, and whether they're going to have to start putting kids together, which again, we're going to speak about in a bit. And like with Zelfa and Gill, if they wouldn't have fought each other, would Jordan and Gill got a fight? Would Zelfa still be waiting another couple of months around? So that is one of the answers, isn't it? Pitch them in together.
Yeah.
John, over to you. Round 3. Well, what's next for Wardley and Clark?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we've not been on since that fight, have we? I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a right good heavyweight British title fight, wasn't it? But as for what's next, I think the fight showed up as good as it was. Neither of them are ready to move on. You know, it was. Can you imagine either of those in with a Parker or a Zhang even? I think it's going to end badly for them both at the minute. So it was really good, but it was of a level. And I think the next step for them both should be a rematch. You know, they're both going to get paid a bundle for it. The attention's there. You know, it's going to be a big, big event that it probably sell out double the number of tickets it did last week. They'll both benefit from another training camp. They'll both benefit from fighting someone again at that level. And the winner might then be ready to move on to like fringe world title level. But I don't think I'd like to see Wardley or Clark probably jump right in with a name just yet. So I think a rematch.
I just think the rematch is the only thing. They're not world level fighters on that the other night. As great as it was to watch, and you know what, it just reminded. It was a fight. Oh God knows how long ago, in Birmingham, British, was it for the British or Commonwealth? Martin Rogan against Sam Sexton. It might have been. I can't remember who. That was an absolute tear up, and I think at the time Frank Warren described that as the best heavyweight title we'd seen in 25 years. It was that sort of thing. That's what it was.
Yeah. Well, I made my notes down here exactly the same as what John's saying. They got to have the rematch because they got paid a hell of a lot of money on Saturday, and whatever they got paid, you know, they fully deserved it because it was a great fight. They both put it all on the line, and it's a fight we want to see. And you mentioned, Steve, that like the level that they're at, one's 29, one's 32. I'd be worried about him taking other fights and getting beat and not getting this rematch. Now, I think this rematch generates a lot of money for them both, and it's a fair fight as we've seen, and I think that's what they should both do. And even it might sound madness this, but Sky are desperate for pay-per-views. I think if they got a couple of world title fights alongside with that one there's the pay-per-view because it's going to get 20,000 people at the MEN Arena or at the O2 in London, and a lot of people will want to watch it on TV. So if they was to pad it up with 2 decent fights with it, they've got a pay-per-view there, so they'll earn even more money.
Great shout out, Steve. All you have to do is keep showing. All you have to keep showing is the pictures of all the busted nose and the blood everywhere, and a little 1-minute segment on Twitter from Sky who do that sort of stuff brilliantly, and you've sold it.
Yeah, you could stick it first main event up at this new arena that's 26,000.
Yeah.
Make a big show of it, a big event, pack it out, and there's your pay-per-view. But yeah, we both deserve the money last Saturday, don't we? It was
and they'll deserve it, and they'll deserve it for the rematch. Round 4. Really get Steve talking about this. You know, Steve, what do smaller promoters need to do to impress TV companies? Because the promoters already, you know, ensconced in that TV world, and this isn't a dig at them, any of them at all. They, you know, that they want to protect their territory themselves and not let people in. So what do promoters have to do to go and impress the TV executives who are looking for the next promoters?
Well, I think the only thing that we can do is put good fights on, promote it well, and kind of improve the production, because obviously with the budget you've got on a small hall show, the production is not, should we say, what you want to spend a load of money on, because you're not getting anything back on it. But we're certainly looking at it with the intentions we want to get onto TV now with these new investors, and we've kind of said, look, we're gonna have to spend some more money on the production to make it look better and to make it be more friendly for the fans who come and watch. And what we've got to try and do, and I don't know how we do it, is get people to stay to watch all the fights, because on the small shows, people are just coming to watch one fight and then they're off. So we've got to do something on that, or everyone's got to do something on that. I think who want to push for the TV. But I mean, I'm a great believer, and it's not just in boxing, but more so in boxing. It's who you know, and I think there's a click with these TV promotions, and I'm not going to start mentioning names and who's that, but I can link in people with people to say that's why they've got these deals at the TV shows, and that's what it is. But hopefully that's got to change. You'd like to think that TV companies would be giving TV shows and dates to people who are doing a good job and putting good fights on, because that's what the viewers want to watch.
But Steve, has any TV show channel ever approached you for like a monthly highlight package from your shows? You know, like an hour or 90 minutes where you could combine like the best 4 fights from your shows that month?
No, never been asked about that. We have supplied like certain shows to, I think it's called KO TV, and they send them around the world on a whatever thing there. But no, I know what you're saying, but do you know what? I don't think delayed things work, do they? You know, like if you put out a delayed package, everyone knows the results, knows what's happened. I don't think you get many to tune into that. I think it is a live sport where people want to watch it.
Yeah. And just something quick there, Steve, a great point you made there. A big concern for all promoters, and certainly myself, since I've been matchmaking for you, I go to so many more smaller shows now, you know, or small shows, keeping people there. I just don't know how that is defeated. You're pointing, showing, I can think of to point out to was your one in Bolton the other week, where there must have been 900 people in there at 7 o'clock when Mona Mia did all them ringside tickets and Kai Dorber did the load, and you had a fantastic top of the bill, and there must have been 400 in there at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? But we say people are coming to support their own fighter, and they're missing out on some good things. But the only one they all stay is the Jolly Boys, isn't it? I mean,
hey, I hope you're bringing your new investors to the Jolly Boys. If there's one this year. Anyway, I don't know whether you're going to have a Jolly Boys this year, so I won't mention it anyway. Round 5, Steve Wood, you want to talk about Noakes Chamberlan, the potential of that?
Yeah, I think I've touched on it before when I've been a guest on here with you guys, and then I was looking at what we're talking about, which is Zelfa v Jordan Gill, and then we talk about Wardley v Clark, which is absolutely a great fight. We've seen it. We think Zelfa and Gill's going to be a great fight. We're going to watch Sam Noakes and Mark Chamberlain, two big punches, you know, 13-0 with 13 KOs, 15-0 with 11 KOs. I mean, to be fair, Sam's got a good test in that Ivan Mendy next, hasn't he? Who's like 54 fights, never been stopped, won 48 of them. I know he's getting on a little bit, but, you know, they probably picked him to make sure he can go the rounds and get the experience in from there. So we'll see what happens on that. But what I'm saying here is, like, it's another fantastic fight, and we're just talking like Wardley and Clark. How should they play it? Should they go back next? Should they both get a couple of wins? Can you see them both being world champions and then fighting like that and earning even more money? No, we couldn't. But with Noakes and Chamberlain, I think they could both become, you know, fragmented world champions, because they're that good. Certainly, you could fight them for the European title, but I'd love to see the fight. I hope they don't make it wait too long.
Tough. I don't think we will wait too, but I'll tell you what, it just shows what a fight this is to people in boxing. And John will back me up here. I agree. Is there a week we don't talk about this fight now on this podcast, John? And I just think that sums it all up. That sums this fight up. Hey, and the winner of that fight is certainly going on to, you know, the world stage. And it isn't over for the loser. And it isn't like Fabio, Wardley and Clarke, where it's going to be hard for them to make an impression at world level, despite their heroics at the O2 on Easter Sunday. The winner of this will just jump. It isn't over for the loser by any stretch in this fight. And every week, Steve, someone wants to talk about this fight. Says it all, doesn't it, John?
Can't fail, can it? It can't fail. And I tell you what, I feel a bit bad for Gavin Gwynn because he got that fight with Chamberlan over in Saudi. He had to give up his British title. Then he lost it. The European was declared vacant. So Gavin Gwynn's sort of on the outside now, isn't he? You know, he's out of the picture and everything's just set up now for these two to be on this collision course. Chamberlain's lucky days have come in because he's fighting in Saudi again. Noakes has got Mendy on 10 days' notice, which I didn't think they'd do. And if they both come through that, surely it might end up on a Saudi card, but I think we're definitely going to get it this year.
I'd say that Turkey bloke, he's Excellency. You better call him His Excellency in case he invites Woody over to do a show. His Excellency, Turkey, he likes Mark Chamberlain, doesn't he?
He loves him, yeah.
I think Mark can't believe his luck.
Unbelievable,
Do you know
isn't it?
what? Well, listening to you then, John, I just think they're talking about doing a big show at Wembley. And I know they were saying like Matchroom v Queensroom, but that'd be a fantastic fight to put on that one, wouldn't it?
No. I'd love to see it headline Saturday night at an arena on TNT and in the ring at 9:30. That's what I want to see with that. And the winner becomes a star.
Yeah.
Right, round 6, final round. John, possible rule changes we'd like to see.
Yeah, this one struck me a couple of weeks ago. And it's something when I'm sat at home watching boxing and the same thing keeps happening, I've often wondered why don't we sort that out? We're seeing the mouthpieces come out more and more and clever corners used, you know, if you're not cheating, you're not trying to win, are you? So they take as long as they possibly can to get the mouthpiece back in and give their fighter time. Why doesn't the referee have a little water bottle on his belt so that when the mouthpiece comes out, he can pick it up, the referee rinses it off as quick as he can, straight back in the mouth, and the fighter doesn't get an advantage for spitting the mouthpiece out? It's a simple little rule, but it'd clean a lot up.
You know what? We're cleaning things up, John. The other thing I'd love to see, but I see referees warn and do nothing. If you're clinching 3 times in a round, I think you lose a point. That's what does, because you see so many fights spoiled, and the referees have a very hard job. You know, I think people might disagree. I think in Britain, on the whole, our star class referees for a start are fantastic, and there's some good upcoming. We're lucky. But I would like to see referees be stronger on clinching. You get guys clinch 3-4 times in a round and get 1 warning. Do it twice in the next round, and they get away with it. They're 5 rounds in. They've stayed in a fight because they've clinched 8 times and had 2 warnings and had nothing done to them. I'd like to see 3 clinches in a round and you're automatically penalised.
Yeah, well, with John's, I think that's a great idea, John. I think it'd be easy to implement. With yours, Steve, I'm thinking, yeah, but it's like, who kind of says whether they're clinching or not?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's a difficult one, but what I don't like is where like they're constantly telling them, and you know we've had it in lots of fights, and it ends up making the fight terrible as well, doesn't it? You know, we're talking about it. I think with the Zach Chelly and Jack Cullen fight, you know, it just spoiled the fight. It was terrible, and the referee should have done something about that, because you shouldn't be able to win a fight by clinching and negating what your opponent's doing. You know, negating by using your skills and clinching for me is not a skill. But one thing I would say I'd like to see, and I don't know if this is changing the rules, but I'd like the board to have like a monitoring system on the scoring of the fights by the referees and judges, and you know, like keep a record of him, and the consistent bad. And let's have it right. We all know them without wanting to mention names. Get hoisted, and then we can like get some proper young blood in there, because at the moment, you know, like you can't be a referee in the central area because there's too many, and that's annoying, because it seems to be that the central area referees get sent all around the country, and we can't get a ref from the central area. But let's get some young boxers refereeing, and then let's do some surveys on the judging and the scoring of the referees, and get rid of the bad ones.
Yeah.
Woody,
is that a rule change, John?
Goes as a rule change for me, Steve. That.
Yeah.
Be my referee's rule, but wouldn't it, for that? But they have to follow.
And it's funny. I don't think I think our referees are pretty good, but isn't it funny how the judging that seems to get picked up more than the ability to referee.
Yeah.
How long do we have to train now? Because Andy Kremner, who used to be a good boxer for you, but he seems to have been sat at ringside now for about a year. But
I think
I've not seen him ref
I think they've only just started. I mean, I might be wrong on Andy. I'll ask him more when you. I only think, or Steve might know. I think Andy's only just started scoring. He's been an inspector for a couple of years, but I think he's only recently started sitting down scoring. You're showing Liverpool the other week, Steve. He was sitting down there at ringside scoring.
Right. Well, to be fair, I didn't notice him doing that. I know.
Yeah, that's the first time I knew he wanted to be a ref, but it's only recently, Steve. John, he started taking the steps, and I
know Mike Stafford wants to be a referee, and he made him be an inspector, and you know, he'll be a good referee as well.
You've said that all the time, haven't you, about him?
Yeah. So no, give him the chance. To say Andy, what's he? I forgot his second name. Again. And Andy Kremner, yeah, you know, he's an ex-boxer and he loves the boxing. Yeah, give him a chance as well. I'm not sure how good he'll be, but let's find out, because there's room for him. Because like you say, even though we're all moaning, we're all still doing shows, and you moan when they send us a referee from the Midlands or Durham and they don't know our fighters, and they're charging loads of mileage money, and then they're staying over in hotels. And so it's like a cost we could do without. Let's give these young kids a chance and fill some gaps, because I'm sure they'll do better than a lot of the people who are doing it at the moment.
Kremner's used to wearing a bow tie as well, isn't he? Remember when he used to come out and his top hat and dicky bow?
Yeah.
All right then, fellas. Well, Steve, thanks for joining us. I know you've got to dash off. John Evans, you get back to writing those stories that Steve says that don't exist now. And, you know, because he thinks you're like, you know, swanning around running the north, you know, you're the king of East Manchester doing nothing. We've put him right on that. But thanks, John. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone, for watching or listening.
Cheers, lads. Thanks.
For all boxing info, news, and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.